Well, I was one of the lucky Muslims who lived here before 9/11. So we've seen how life was here. At that time, Muslims had some challenges, finding halal food, finding a place of worship, education, jobs, economy, just as many challenges as every other American family. For me, there were some additional personal challenges. You've met my wife, Robin. A big challenge for me was to mow the lawn in a straight line. So another challenge was just to keep my allowance, because she kept her money, took our money, and then she always found a way to get to my own allowance too. But one day you wake up in the morning on 9/11 and you see those horrible scenes. I will never forget the picture of people jumping off the window. I will never forget that. That was the hardest thing that I remember when I hear 9/11. But at that time you're in shock, just like everybody, and you look and you don't know how much it will impact your life in the future. So after 9/11, Muslims were affected in three ways. One is just like every American family, sense of security. You could have been in that plane, in that building. I mean, tourists don't look at, oh, there are some Muslims in this building, let's avoid it, or in this plane. You're as victimized as everybody else, okay? And there were a lot of victims who were Muslims in those buildings, in the planes. So if anybody thinks that Muslims will condone that kind of actions, there's something wrong here. Then, when you realize that some Muslims did that, then you have another effect, which is shame and guilt, because you're proud of your religion, and you never want to see something like this committed by other Muslims. So you deal with that, and then you start hearing the media and people talk about the consequences, you know. Now, the sleeping cells. I think a lot of Muslims started sleeping. They started taking more naps after that. And so then you become afraid. I mean, you know, it's not about, it became where, it's not if you've done something wrong, you're punished, but if you even know somebody who called you, or they have your phone number and their number, you're afraid. You know, would you be sent to Guantanamo or somewhere else and then ask questions later? You know, so that was kind of like a sense of fear, and you know, in the community. And I'll tell you, I was afraid. I was really. My wife is very outspoken, and I used to get really worried and argue with her. I said, "Stop! You're gonna get us in trouble." You know. I remember one time I had a conversation with my mom after the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and my mom said, she's also very outspoken. She said, "I think Bin Laden and Bush are the devils." And I said, "Mom, I hope you know how to spell Guantanamo." You know. So, you know, these are the things that happen. So now, what is the solution for those things? I mean, I like to always have a forward-looking plan, you know. Those things have happened. We cannot change what has happened now. I'll tell you, I wanted to believe in conspiracy theory. I would rather hear that it was China behind things like that, okay? So, but unfortunately, that was not the case. So then realities hit the Muslim community after 9/11. And, you know, we have to distinguish between genuine security needs, okay, or concerns, and between profiling or outreach. In the past 2 days, there have been 3 examples of things that I've seen. New York, there was the police department was watching all the MSA students, the Muslim Student Association. Okay, I think that's too bad, because I am 100% sure that the majority of those students are probably law-abiding citizens, students, and for them to feel guilty or being targeted, it just causes anger, it causes distrust, and if they see something wrong, I don't think they would want to talk about it anymore, and that would be a problem. I think the best solution for these things, there was also another incident in the FBI one time was doing some training and they were using Muslims as targets. I think that's a big mistake, and it's really, really not necessary. Because when you train people, you train them regardless what that person is, Muslim, Chinese, you know, whatever, whoever they are. I don't think you should worry about putting a label on who's the guilty or who's the target here. I think the best way is to engage Muslims and Islam in that fight. And how you do that, I'll give you a few examples. There was a Nigerian guy who tried to bomb a plane on the way to Detroit. Not last Christmas, but the Christmas before. I am from Yemen, so I really hated to hear that he lived there. So usually when something happens, I say, oh, please, God, it's not a Muslim. As soon as you hear about something like that. And then you say, oh, please, God, I hope it's not somebody from Yemen. But anyway, his father has actually called the authority and said, I'm really worried about my son. So we want to see more of that. And how do we see more of that? Is by making sure that people know when you report somebody, when you suspect somebody, whether your son, your husband, your wife, your neighbor, that you know for sure that person will have just treatment, that the law will apply, that if they're found guilty, they will be penalized, but if not, they will have no problem. But if you fear that they might be thrown in jail for years before anybody takes them to trial, just because they knew somebody, then you're conscious, you'll start worrying about reporting people. I remember an incident when our son was a teenager, and there was a riot here at Purdue after a women's basketball game. And our son participated in the riot. He and some friends broke windows. We found out, we took him, we turned him into the West Lafayette police. And we made sure he went to jail for a few days, actually. And when that happened, actually, when he came out of jail, he said, I will never go to jail again. And he never did. He was good. But at that time, if we didn't know that he will get fair treatment, we probably would question whether we should turn him in or not, okay? And so we want to make sure that families always feel comfortable that their kids or friends will have fair treatment. A story I read today in the Middle Eastern news, a Lebanese restaurant owner in France, he had somebody came and ordered a shawarma sandwich and forgot a folder. He opened it, he found details of Obama's visit to France a few months ago. And it was a plot with which floor of the hotel, how many security. So the guy called the FBI, and the FBI found that that guy was trying to assassinate Obama. So this was in the news today. So that's the kind of things we want to see. We want to see Muslims also go and report when they see something. And I believe a lot of Muslims would do that, okay? A lot of Muslims would have been much closer to Glenn Beck or Rush Limbaugh than to a terrorist who wants to bomb a plane or a building, because you're as victim as anybody else, in that. So we want to encourage some of those things more than make the Muslim community feel fear and guilt and feel that they're also target of those things. How much time do I have? I'm the only one that I'll finish faster than. I'm waiting for her sign, So these are some of the things that, look, I hear a lot of times people say, well, it's still United States better than Iran. Thank you. Look, this is a great place, okay, and everybody knows it. And there is no reason why we should compare this to China or, Muslims have more rights here than they have in Egypt or in Yemen, okay, great, thanks. So we should not go to their level. We should hopefully encourage other countries to have better human rights, more freedom of religion, and respect the rights and apply law to everybody equally. And I think that would be something we should strive to do. Thank you so much.